You think I don't know what you said about me? You think those words just disappeared into the air after you spoke them? They didn't. They landed, every single one of them, and I carried them around like they were facts instead of opinions. But here's the thing about hitting rock bottom after someone you loved decided you weren't worth the effort. Sometimes the universe sends you exactly the kind of story that makes you realize your worst chapter was actually your setup. So let me tell you what happened when he left, not the sanitized version, not the version where I pretend I handled everything gracefully, the real version, the version where I sat in my car in a parking lot for 40 minutes because I didn't want my roommate to see me cry. The version where I stayed up until 3 in the morning reading old texts trying to find the exact moment everything went wrong. Because if I could find the moment, I thought, maybe I could fix it. Maybe I could go back and be different. Be better. Be whatever he needed me to be. That's what rejection does to you when you've already been conditioned to believe you're not enough. He had told me, not once but repeatedly in ways both direct and indirect, that I was too sensitive, too emotional, too much. He had a very specific vision of who I was supposed to be, and I kept failing his audition without ever being given the actual script. I changed my laugh because he said it was annoying. I stopped wearing certain outfits because of one comment he made at a restaurant. I shrunk myself down into something small and quiet, and still it wasn't right. Still, I wasn't enough, and then he left anyway. He moved on within 3 weeks. 3 weeks! To someone he described to mutual friends as low maintenance. And I remember hearing that and thinking, oh, so that was the problem all along. I had needs. I had feelings. I was a human being with a pulse, and that was apparently the inconvenience he couldn't get past. Now here's where this story pivots. Because this isn't a sad story. This is actually the most unexpectedly beautiful story I have to tell you about. 2 months after the breakup, I was still in that fog. You know the one, where you're functioning on the surface but internally you're running on about 15% battery and everything requires twice the effort it should. I had started going to this small coffee shop near my apartment just to have somewhere to be that wasn't my bedroom. I'd bring my laptop, pretend to be productive, and mostly just stare at the wall. There was a man who came in there regularly. Older, probably late 50s, early 60s. Well-dressed in that quiet, understated way where you can't identify a single expensive thing but somehow everything looks expensive. He never bothered anyone. Always had a newspaper, which I found genuinely charming in the way that things which belong to a different era are charming. We started nodding at each other the way regulars do. Then one day, he sat at the table next to mine and said, quite simply, "You look like you're carrying something heavy." And I don't know why, but I told him the truth. Maybe because he was a stranger. Maybe because I was exhausted from holding it together. I told him about the breakup, about feeling like I'd been found lacking, about not knowing who I was anymore outside of trying to be what someone else wanted. He listened, really listened, not in that performative way people do when they're waiting for their turn to talk. He actually listened. And when I was done, he said something I have thought about almost every single day since. He said, "The people who tell you that you're too much are always the people who can't handle anything at all." We met for coffee several more times after that. And over those weeks, I started to understand something about this man. He was extraordinarily successful, not in a showy way. He had built multiple businesses from nothing, had traveled extensively, had spent decades cultivating a life that reflected genuine values rather than performance. He was a widower. His wife had passed for years earlier. He had grown children. He was not lonely in the desperate way. He was just open, and he became something I genuinely did not have a word for at first. He started helping me, not in a romantic way, at least not initially. He helped me see my own value. He'd ask me about my work and actually engage with what I said, push back thoughtfully, ask follow-up questions. He referred me to people in his network when I mentioned a project I was working on. He bought me dinner and said, "You should eat at real tables, not from delivery containers in your apartment. He treated me like someone worth investing in. Now I know what some of you are already thinking. And yes, I hear you. The term sugar daddy carries a lot of weight and a lot of assumptions, but I want to complicate that for a second because real life is almost never as clean as the categories we try to put it in. He was older, he was wealthy, he was generous. Those things are all true, but what he was giving me wasn't just money or gifts or dinners. He was giving me a mirror that showed me something different than what my ex had shown me. He told me once that the most interesting people he had ever met were the ones who felt things deeply. That sensitivity wasn't weakness, it was information. That the emotionally intelligent people, the ones who paid attention, the ones who cared, those were the ones worth knowing, worth building with, worth protecting. I want you to sit with that for a second. If you've ever been told you're too much, the person who couldn't handle you wasn't judging your worth. They were revealing their own limitation. They were telling you about their ceiling, not your value. Over the following months, this man became one of the most significant relationships of my life. He took me to places I had never been, not just physically, though yes, there was travel. He took me to a version of myself that I hadn't met yet, one that expected to be treated well, one that didn't apologize for having opinions, one that sat at a table without calculating whether her presence was inconvenient. He was also clear with me, always, about what he was and what he wasn't. He wasn't trying to replace what I had lost. He wasn't my boyfriend in the conventional sense of that word. He was something older and less categorized. A patron, a mentor, someone who believed in me before I remembered how to believe in myself. And yes, someone who cared for me in ways that included generosity, because for him, generosity was simply how care was expressed. My ex, meanwhile, was apparently still looking for that low-maintenance situation. I heard through the grapevine it wasn't going particularly well. I'll be honest with you, at first that gave me a satisfaction I wasn't proud of, but then something shifted. I stopped caring about his story at all. It just became irrelevant, because I was too busy writing my own. Here is what I want you to take from this. Not the specifics of my situation, because yours will look different, but the principle underneath it. When someone decides you're not enough, they are not delivering a verdict on your life. They are exiting from it, and exits create openings. The space that person leaves behind isn't empty. It's available for something, for someone, for a version of yourself that couldn't exist while you were busy trying to be smaller. The things my ex saw as flaws, my depth, my expressiveness, my intensity, those were exactly the things this man valued, not in spite of them, because of them. He said once that a woman who feels nothing requires nothing, and that's a convenient arrangement if you want a life without friction. But if you actually want a life, you need someone in it who can feel the weight of things alongside you. I think about that often now. The person who told you that you were never good enough was not wrong about you. They were wrong about what matters. They had confused convenience for compatibility. They had mistaken low maintenance for happiness. And they will spend years learning that lesson the hard way while you, if you let yourself, will move forward into something that actually fits. I am not the same person who sat in that parking lot crying over a man who needed me to be less. I am louder now, more certain, more willing to take up space, and I am deeply, genuinely grateful that he decided I wasn't good enough, because that decision led me exactly where I needed to go.